This is my desktop ecosystem, which is now 3 years old. For the first year, the tank was ruled by Barb, the notorious Beta. She went on a rampage, wiping out most of the tank's inhabitants, until one day, she mysteriously vanished. For the next year, I neglected the tank and let it get completely overgrown, and it took a further 6 months to restore balance and bring it back to life. You can find links to the previous videos in the description. Now the tank is home to a new set of predators and a thriving shrimp population. Things are about to get even more exciting, because I'm going to be adding more creatures into the mix. And that's when things really start to get weird. Watch as a mini civilization starts to develop, with shrimp and snails working together, whilst rivalries start to form and new species take over. All within this small glass cube on my deck. So let's pick up right where the last video left off. It's only been a few days since I added some leaves which I'd scooped out of this pond, and the shrimp are having a feast. They'd spend all day just munching away and hiding in the small crevices. Although the leaves were great for the shrimp, they didn't bring in as many microorganisms as I'd hoped, so I added these weird little creatures called Daphne. Also known as water fleas due to the way they bounce around in the water, kind of strange looking things. The fish couldn't get enough of them. Although I think I might have added a few too many. At least it'll keep them well fed and entertained for a week or so. The Daphne didn't stick around for long, and any that weren't eaten by the fish within the first week just died out. The leftover bodies were picked apart by the shrimp. Nothing goes to waste in an ecosystem tank. The shrimp weren't fussy and they'd eat just about anything. Although they were perfectly happy munching away on these leaves, every so often I'd add a small treat for them to feast on. Sometimes a sprinkle of nutritional yeast, but their absolute favourite was a piece of boiled vegetable. After 2 years and 6 months, I noticed some interesting things starting to unfold. The ecosystem was starting to become like a real community, and it became apparent that some of the inhabitants were working together. The cherry shrimp seemed to have developed some sort of weird transport system using the snails. They worked together using leaves and plants as elevators to get from the surface to the bottom. And the shrimp could often be seen riding on their shells along the surface, like some sort of underwater upside down taxi service. In return for the rides, the shrimp offered protection against Sparky, the biggest of the gouramis, who would often peck at the snails when he got bored. Although it wasn't much of a fight, it definitely kept Sparky away from the snails. One evening I noticed a shrimp doing what looked like some snail maintenance. No matter what I did to try and intervene, he just kept getting back to work. When I came back a few minutes later, the snail was suspended in the middle of the water column. Stayed like this for a while, before falling to the bottom leaving behind some weird stringy goo. I had no idea what was going on in here at this point. Now, I've always found snails to be weirdly enjoyable to watch. Yeah, even if they are a little bit gross. And because of my love for them, I decided it was time to add some more to the tank. So I went onto eBay and ordered a bundle of 4 different species. They arrived shortly after in what had to be some of the weirdest packaging I've received so far. A small box covered in butterfly stickers, which contained a pillbox full of snails and a whole bunch of plastic gems for decoration, plus a few floating plants for good measure. So first up in the morning slot, we have the tiny mystery snail. And no, a mystery snail doesn't mean I got a random surprise snail. This is actually the common name for the species. These were followed by the ram's horns at noon. Then in the evening we had the bladder snails. Then lastly for bedtime we had the Donald trumpet snails. After acclimating them, in they went to start exploring their new home. Although it wasn't long before they were sucked into the whole shrimp snail fish drama. The shrimp started their recruiting immediately, and any snails that didn't comply were beaten into submission. A few days later, I figured I didn't quite have enough snails, so it was time to add the final boss. A horned nerite snail. Although the tank was already swarming with snails, this guy will probably do a better job of cleaning the glass than the rest of them combined. And for all his hard work, he's rewarded by the shrimp with a personal shell cleaning service. Now with all the new additions, there are at least 6 snail species in the tank. Bladder, ram's horn, mini ram's horn, Malaysian trumpet, mystery snails, and finally the nerite snail. All of these, along with all the cherry shrimp and amanos, not to mention all the eggs they were carrying, meant the fish were greatly outnumbered in this whole rivalry that was going on in the tank. But things were about to change. A few weeks after adding the nerite snail, I received another package in the mail. This time it contained creatures I'd never kept before, and I only found out they existed a few weeks prior to ordering them. These little guys are Thai micro spider crabs. I popped the bag in the tank to acclimate them, and then into the tank they went. From the moment they were added, I could tell they didn't like the shrimp. As the lights went out, they used the cover of darkness to skulk around looking for scraps of food, their pale bodies standing out against the leaves. They didn't come out much during the day, spent most of their time hiding half out of sight, ominously hanging around with only their creepy spindly legs visible, like something from a horror movie. After the first week, they figured out their territories in the tank. One held the driftwood in the top left, the second was in the guppy grass in the top right, and the last one controlled the bottom, making its home beneath the dead leaves. A couple of weeks after they were added, it was clear whose side they were on.
Huh?
Caught one of the crabs eating a snail. With the shell in one claw, it was using the other claw like a spoon to scoop out the snail like a bowl of rice. Looks like there's a new king in this underwater jungle. Now the tank is 2 years and 8 months old, and all the weird and wonderful creatures seem to be thriving alongside each other. Although the rivalries continued, they could set aside their differences for a few hours to enjoy a selection of vegetables. With all the new inhabitants, the tank was now teeming with life, and there was always something going on. But it doesn't end there. In the next video, I'm going to be adding the weirdest creatures yet. And as the tank reaches its 3rd birthday since being set up, time to make a huge decision on the future of the ecosystem. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.